Du innvandrer I Norge, og hvis du litt lur, så bør du være ganske interessert I å lære om det norske og skjønne vår kultur. For gjør du det, så blir du integrert. I Sunnmøre så finner du de gjerrigste I landet. Og husk å dra til Nord-Norge hvis du vil lære å banne. Og trønderne flinkest til å brygge hjemmebrent.
For festen blir et artig uten 96%.
Nordmenn spiser mest av det pizza Grandiosa. Og ingen går til lege lenger, alle drar til Snåsa. På TV liker vi å se på bonderomantikk. Dessuten har vi verdens verste selvmordsstatistikk. I verden vil vi gjerne være fredsambassadører, men også en av verdens største våpeneksportører. Og snakker du med fremmede på bussen, du dust. Og når du sier ja, så si det på innoverpuss. Når nordmenn skal bli drita, det ofte på en ferie. Vi bruker hele helgen på å handle mat I Sverige. I Norge det alltid kaldt og veldig dårlig vær. Men heldigvis kan sellunger bli ganske fine klær. Åh, hvis du tror du noe, blir alle provosert. Nå vet du at Norge, ja, nå du integrert.
Hei, I dag det partilederdebatt på NRK, og det gleder jeg meg til. Det alltid spennende og utfordrende når partilederne barker sammen. Det vil være en del ting jeg har lyst til å prøve å få svar på fra statsminister Jens Stoltenberg. Det ene hvorfor han synes det uansvarlig å investere noen flere milliarder kroner I å bygge veier I dette landet, mens han selv mener det veldig ansvarlig å investere 14 milliarder kroner I vindmøller. Det litt rart, men kanskje vi får svar på det I løpet av debatten. Og så kunne jeg kanskje tenke meg å høre hvordan han har tenkt å innfri løftet sitt om 12 000 nye sykehjems- og omsorgsplasser. Vi venter fortsatt på dem, og kanskje vi snart får et svar på når han har tenkt å bygge dem. We did very well. We ended as the second biggest party in Norway. You have to remember we have 7 parties in parliament for the time being, so we had about 25% of the votes, which is quite good. Now we have extremely good polls, which means that if the polls remain that way, we will be able to form a majority government with the Conservative Party in Norway after the next elections.
We have the impression, I think, in Canada, that all of the Scandinavian countries are blissfully, happily, socially democratic. And of course, we have a party here in Canada, the New Democratic Party, which often looks at Sweden or Norway or Finland and says, look how wonderfully they're doing over there, and we need to be more like them. Do you want to give us some advice on how true that is?
Well, it's not all that true, and I think that you should take a closer look before you buy the whole idea of the beautiful countries in Scandinavia. Well, first of all, Denmark has been governed by a conservative government now for many, many years, so it's not a social democratic country anymore. Sweden is in their second term with a conservative government. So the only remaining socialist country for now is Norway. Of course, we do have a lot of money, but it's not very efficient run. We can lean back for now because we do have all this oil money coming in, but we need to do something about fast-growing bureaucracy, which is extremely expensive for the taxpayers. We have high tax rates, and most things are tax-funded in Norway, which means that you basically need to get in some post on the budget in order to make it, and I think that's a bad idea.
But I'm looking for evidence that people have tired of the social democratic way of life, and I look at your party, the Progress Party, you've never won an election.
No, but we are also the newest party in Norway. But
new is how old, though?
Close to 40 years. 40
years? You've been around for 40 years and never won an election.
But we will now.
She says confidently.
Now, yeah.
You talked taxes a second ago. What's the average income tax? Do you have a progressive income tax system?
Yes, we do.
And so the rates are roughly from what to what?
Well, on income, it's on the average, I guess, close to 50%. But then we have a severe amount of indirect taxes, which means that basically you pay around 70% of your income, one way or another, to the government.
70% of your income through direct and indirect taxation goes to the government?
Yeah.
And you think that's too high?
Of course it is.
Well, you say of course, but you know, people haven't elected you yet, so they seem to be content with it.
No, they're not. Both my party and the Conservative Party really wants to cut taxes, and that has to do with having a stronger belief in the individual. I think that you can get better economic growth, more solid businesses, more sustainable economy over time if you have more trust in the individual, more trust in the businesses, even more trust in the NGOs to handle their affairs without government interference.
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan was your favorite president.
Yeah, he was.
Margaret Thatcher was your favorite British Prime Minister.
Yes, she was.
Yes, okay. So I'm trying to paint a picture for our viewers here so they know where you're coming from. When you hear about Norway over here, whether it's from the United Nations or other independent organizations, it's almost always at the top of the list or near the top of the list of countries that do well on the issues of fairness, equity, lifestyle, healthcare, education. It doesn't sound as bleak as the picture I think you're suggesting here. Have we got the wrong impression of your country?
No. First of all, let me say that Norway is a very good place to live. We all enjoy it very much. It's safe and it's sound, and we have a solid economy by all means. But things can get better. We need to make a serious health reform because we have a state monopoly healthcare system, and it's not very efficient run. It's very expensive. And we do have almost 250,000 people waiting to get an operation, which means that they're unable to work because they wait to get this necessary operation. That's just ridiculous. I mean, you can actually change the system, and in every other part of the society where we actually make markets work, they do make things work better. Prices are cut. And the customer or the consumer is more happy. So that's why we have to introduce markets to the healthcare system as well.
We talk about this in Canada all the time. And the notion of talking about patients as customers or consumers is dangerous talk in Canada. A lot of people find that because buying a widget or buying a magazine is not the same thing as buying a heart bypass surgery. That's the argument.
Well, we have a different debate in Norway. It's about your right as a patient, your right as a consumer to make decisions on your health.
Okay, let me ask you about Norway's relationship with many other countries in the world and other religions in the world. And to that end, I want to ask, how homogeneous a population is Norway?
Well, it's not very homogeneous anymore. It used to be, but of course we, as any other European or Western country, have a growing immigrant population. That, of course, is not a problem, as long as they get well integrated, get to work every day, and take care of their own business. I think the growing problem in Norway is the lack of integrity. We don't make immigrants integrate that well, and we do have a serious amount of illegal immigrants trying to get into Norway. That creates a lot of problems.
How about Islam? Does Norway have a problem with Islam right now?
Well, what is Islam? I think we should talk about radical Islam because that's the main threat to the world.
If you want to make that distinction, for sure.
Well, for me it is important because I don't think that we should go after any Muslim in this world just because of their faith. I believe in the freedom of believing in whatever you want. So I'm not going to go after anyone for having their beliefs. What I do think is disturbing is that radical Islam is not religion, it's politics. And it's actually a movement spreading hatred, trying to suppress women. And I live in a country where gender equality is, close to perfect. We have women in all parts of society, in politics, in businesses, and everywhere. But we experience today that young women with Muslim background are forced into marriages. They experience forced circumcision. They are threatened in their everyday life.
Well, that's what I'm asking about. Take radical Islam off the table for a second. Does the average Muslim in Norway embrace Norwegian values, traditional Norwegian values, in a way that you would like to see?
I think the average Muslim is embracing them, yes. And that's why they came to Norway initially, to live as a free individual in the free part of the world. They have actually run away from suppression. The problem is that somebody's running after them again. And fortunately, some of them are actually standing up, talking about it. And I think that has created a very good climate in Norway, debating these very sensitive and delicate issues, because they are, if not handled correctly.
Well, I don't have to tell you, but obviously in your European backyard, in other countries, there are significant tensions right now between, the ethnicities of the people who've lived there for centuries and new Muslims who've come in and, aren't adapting as well as, say, the people who've lived there for a long time would like. Norway is overwhelmingly a Christian country.
Yes.
Are there tensions between Christianity and Islam in Norway?
Yes, we see a tendency of increased conflict, but I think the basic conflict line that we have has to do with radical Islamic groups putting forward some strange ideas into the Norwegian society, and we have to fight that. Secondly, the other problem that we have has to do with integration. But apart from that, I think that we're doing quite well.
You've got 500 troops in Afghanistan.
Yes.
So again, I wonder whether or not you're concerned about being a target of terrorism. Canada's been mentioned, for example, in Osama bin Laden's tapes, because we're over there.
Yeah.
Is that a concern for Norwegians?
Of course it is. I mean, we have been mentioned as well in these famous tapes. But if we step out of Afghanistan in fear of what might happen, I think that we lose no matter what. This is a freedom fight, the way I see it, and we need to stand shoulder by shoulder as NATO alliance to fight one of the most important fights in modern history, I think.
Let's finish up on something that will be obvious to anybody watching this. You're a woman in politics. Mm-hmm. We have, I think, in our National House of Commons, 21 or 22% of the members of Parliament are female. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty low number. We've had a female prime minister for about 5 months, yeah. 17 years ago. Mm-hmm. Britain's had one prime minister who's female. The United States has never had a female president. Female leadership is not uncommon in Scandinavian countries, right?
No, it's very common.
Very common.
Yes.
So, having said that, is it harder for a woman to become prime minister in your country than for a man to become prime minister?
No, not at all. First of all, we had our first female prime minister back in the 80s. And she was our prime minister for quite some time. She was from the Labour Party. Today, 5 out of 7 parties have a female leader. I think close to 40% of our parliament is women. They are women. So we don't have a debate on that at all when it comes to politics. We can debate it in other parts of the society, but in politics, people are very, very used to it.
What are you doing that we're obviously not doing?
I have no idea.
Well, somehow, whatever barriers there are to women wanting to get into public life, and there are plenty, you seem to have overcome them more than we have. Any thoughts about what those are?
Well, I have given some thought to the fact that US, for instance, haven't had a female president at all, and I wonder why, whereas we have a totally different situation in Scandinavia. First of all, I think it has to do with getting people used to the idea. And that means that women need to get involved. They need to be elected, they need to be members of parliament, they need to be in Congress or senators or whatever, and take a stand, be loud and clear, and show people that they can be trusted. But maybe it is, I don't know, in Norway, because of the gender equality that we've had for a long time, it's not a drawback to be a woman. In Norway, we have a system where the so-called maternity leave, which is a state-funded system, is actually equally shared or close to equally shared between the mom and the dad, or they can actually choose how they want to separate it, which means that more and more men actually take leave from work to stay at home with their children when they grow up. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's something to think about.
Okay, we're thinking about it. When's your next election?
We have local elections next year.
I mean, national election.
Yeah, we have parliamentary elections in 2013.
2013?
Yeah.
And you'll be on the ballot for the Progress Party running to be Prime Minister?
I will.
And how many seats behind the government are you now?
Well, we would have to form a coalition because we haven't had a single party in majority for a long time in Norway.
Okay, so if you and the Conservatives form some kind of coalition...
Mm-hmm. Well, all polls today gives us a strong majority.
Election's not today.
I know, but the only way to find that out is to fight every day until 2013.
We will stay tuned, and I hope you'll come back and visit us in Canada again sometime. Siv Jensen, thank you so much.
Thank you.